Coming up on In the Know, the Loyolan's First Amendment Week has come to a close, culminating with the visit of two controversial political speakers. What they said and how students reacted straight ahead.
This is Donna Renteria. When does the First Amendment go too far? Faculty and students attempted to answer this question in a night of dialogue.
I'm Jill Bell. Why were students marching together during Convo? Stay tuned to find out.
And I'm Carissa Paris. What were all the music and games for in Alumni Mall? The answer in my full report.
From LMU Television Studios in Los Angeles, this is In the Know with your hosts, Cornelius Burke and Natalie Nordson.
Hello, LMU, and welcome to the show. I'm Cornelius Burke.
And I'm Natalie Nordseth.
First in the news, the main event of the Loyolan's 5th Annual First Amendment Week took place in Gersten Pavilion on the evening of February 15th. Political bloggers Arianna Huffington and Michelle Malkin delivered personal speeches and answered questions from the audience members.
Arianna Huffington spoke first, with her speech focusing on the role the First Amendment plays with today's journalists.
The greatest assault on the First Amendment is not the lawsuit, it's the self-censorship that goes on. It's the chilling effect on the dissemination of information if journalists feel that somehow they're going to be the targets of lawsuits or of recriminations. Because the stifling of dissent is the stifling of our fundamental freedom of expression. And without a freedom of expression, there is no real democracy. That's why it's so important to treasure it, and that is why it's so important not to use it as a fig leaf, to hide behind it.
Michelle Malkin then took to the podium, emphasizing throughout how we should look closely at who we label as extremists.
It is hardly extremist to ask liberals to explain why they find it acceptable to use those same factors, race, ethnicity, national origin, to achieve diversity on college campuses or in police departments, and yet they find it unacceptable to use those same factors to achieve greater security and safety in war times. No matter our race, ethnicity, or politics, face far greater threats to our freedoms from fanatical, I will use Arianna's word, fanatical enemies who criminalize apostasy, who outlaw critical journalism and blogging, and who behead those who insult their religion. They are the real extremists.
After the event, students who attended described how they felt it went.
I loved how Malkin touched on immigration. I loved how she talked about reforming the leadership in America, talking about kind of the real fallacies in Bush's policy, not just things like the war, in general.
I was coming here expecting something like last year, where it ended up being more of a stand-up comedian routine and not really talking about the First Amendment, but I was very pleased that both the speakers actually spoke about the First Amendment, and they didn't just talk about freedom of speech, they talked about all the other parts of it.
They can invite speakers here to create a mess, but the community has to clean up after them. There needs to be a deconstruction process before or after that needs to be done by the Loyolan, not by the community. Out of our resources, out of our time and our budget, it should come from their budget, their time, and their resources.
Lining the wall of Burns Rec Center, a coalition of students from numerous organizations expressed their opposition to many of Malkin's ideas.
We wanted to raise awareness about the issues that surrounds her, primarily the justification of the internment of Japanese Americans, German Americans, and Italian Americans during World War II, which is a fact that a lot of people don't know. So that's something we wanted to bring a lot of attention to.
Before First Amendment Week even began, the ASLMU Interculturalism Committee held an evening of dialogue to discuss the issue of free speech and the decision to bring Michelle Malkin to campus. Here's In the Know correspondent Donna Renteria with the details. Donna?
In response to the controversial First Amendment Week speakers, the ASLMU Interculturalism Committee put on an event entitled Free Speech versus Hate Speech. 70 to 80 students gathered at the living room in light of their mixed feelings of the Loyolan's decision to bring Michelle Malkin to campus. To open the event, a video of post-Hurricane Katrina dialogue was shown as an example of how free speech has gone too far in the past.
Because that, in my estimation, is the only conclusion I have come to. We have to exterminate white people off of the face of the planet to solve this problem.
And for the main part of the evening, a panel of 2 Loyolan representatives and 2 LMU professors expressed their opinions on the limits of free speech. Editor-in-Chief of the Loyolan, Natalie Nortzett, discussed the challenges that the First Amendment can present.
When we open the public sphere up to everyone, we're also opening up that space for people who we may not want to listen to, whose viewpoints may be radical and even offensive. And our immediate reaction is to rip the microphone away, or just shut the person up. But that's a very, very scary road to take, because what if it's you that's on the other side of the mic? What if it's Martin Luther King Jr.? He's holding the mic, or someone else deemed too radical for their time.
Theology professor Amir Hussein voiced his concerns on the true nature behind the speaker's visit to LMU.
It's not about discussion and debate. It's about one person coming on, presenting their thing, collecting a very large check, and going. Someone else presenting their thing, collecting an equally large check, and leaving. The poor boy in me is a little concerned about where the money goes, who's paying for this and where this money has been used. Otherwise,
the other Loyolan panelist, Nader Al-Sheikh, shared his thoughts on the benefits of First Amendment Week.
It inspires students to have discussions like these, to think about issues in kind of a greater way, just a deeper way, different way. And I think that, it spurs dialogue. It makes people pay attention. It makes people think about things like Japanese internment. That's a worthwhile pursuit, I think.
Students who attended raised the issues they had regarding Malkin's visit.
I just believe Michelle Malkin, in the sense where cheapens the right of free speech. It's not, she has the right for it. I believe she has the right to it. But when Michelle Malkin speaks at LMU, she speaks for LMU. And I just don't believe it's the best use of this power.
Why is she here? She has that platform. She has that space. She has she has her own website. She has a blog. She has a book. I think she's a syndicated columnist. I mean, she has that area, so why is she coming?
One of the panelists, Dr. Wayne LeChamenon, explains how one can distinguish beneficial speech from speech that is hateful.
Hopeful speech is speech that helps us come to a better understanding and be more moral. However, that's a highly debated subject. Harmful speech, of course, is, at least you can clearly delineate and say it's speech that directly harms people, obviously. But once again, on a more nuanced level, it's still difficult to determine.
So when do we take the First Amendment too far? In reality, it is up to you as a student and as a citizen to decide. This has been Donna Renteria. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Donna. Free speech wasn't the only issue on students' minds during First Amendment Week. As you might be aware of, a physical and verbal altercation occurred last month between a female student and an Iggy's Diner employee. To show support for the Iggy's employees, the campus organization Sledge held a rally on February 13th. Jill Belk was there to bring you all the details. Jill?
Members of the Sledge organization marched together from Alumni Mall to Iggy's Diner to show their support for the workers at LMU. The students chanted several cheers to raise awareness of their presence.
The mighty, mighty Sledge! Fighting for justice!
Despite the appearance of their actions, Sledge acknowledged that this was not a protest. Upon arriving at Iggy's Diner, they began toasting the workers for all of their hard work.
Hey everybody, we're here to celebrate our workers! Yeah.
To all of these people who work so hard for us, who are a part of the LMU community, we should treat them with respect and the dignity that they deserve. So, here's to the workers.
Sonia Nunez explained what the Sledge organization is all about.
Showing our solidarity to workers and helping them with their struggles to attain basic worker rights. Throughout our different campaigns that we've had over the past year, we've worn this t-shirt. And I guess it's just a symbol of our solidarity.
Sledge President Blake Saunders.
We've spoken to Sodexo workers, and they think that LMU is just a bunch of kids that don't care. They're here for what they want, but we want to show them that this is a Jesuit university. We care about social justice, and we care what they think, and they have to know that.
Every day that I come in here, I constantly see the workers mistreated. And I think that in conjunction with the mission of this university it's important that we treat these workers with respect.
Some of the students expressed their feelings about the confrontation that occurred at the diner.
I wasn't there the night of the charity ball incident, and it got out of hand, and I know the worker, and I know her very well, and I think she's a very nice lady, and I think what happened was she just snapped, and because she was tired of people just being mean to her, because she always worked the late shift, so there was always drunk people on the late shifts.
No, it wasn't right what happened that night after charity ball. It's not representative of what an LMU student is or what we should be. So we just want to make sure that the workers know that we have respect for what they do.
And in the long run, why should this issue matter to students?
I think students sometimes forget that workers on campus are just as much a part of the LMU community as us as students or faculty are. And they're a very important part of this campus. It's because of them that this campus is so beautiful.
So in the words of Sledge, the next time that you go to eat somewhere on campus, take a moment to thank those that work so hard to prepare your meal. I'm Jill Belk, now back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Jill. February has and continues to be a month full of special programs on our campus. And as part of the continuing programs honoring Black History Month, a Greek step show will be held Friday, February 23rd at 7 p.m. in St. Rob's Auditorium. Join the LMU Greek community for an evening featuring historically African American sororities and fraternities